Good morning, Year 8. Mr. O'Shea here. And today I'm going to introduce to you the new history topic for this term. So we're done with slavery. That topic is over. We're now moving on to, as you can see from the unit title, the Industrial Revolution. So you're going to be studying this term. What was the Industrial Revolution? So for today, your key question, which I want you to put at the top of your page as usual with the date, is, can I identify what Britain was like in 1750 and what changes were made up to 1900 regarding transport, employment, and growth of towns? So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Changes in Britain from 1750 until 1900. In particular, looking at towns and the way people were living. And we're going to have three key words. They are going to be agricultural revolution, industrial revolution, and scientific revolution. So for your starter, what I would like you to do is I would like you to have a look at each definition and then pause and put down from your own knowledge, what do you think each of these definitions, each of these key terms means? So if we start agricultural revolution, I want you to pause the video now and I want you to write down, what do you think we mean by agricultural revolution? Again, if you don't know, that's fine. We're going to go through together. So pause the video, put your definition. Okay, so let's compare your definition. Let's see what you got. So agricultural revolution, what was this? This was an increase in agricultural productivity in Great Britain from 1700 to 1900, seeing a move from strip farming to enclosure farming. So what does this mean? It means agriculture, you should know this is to do with farming, and it means that Britain was going to produce much more food, and it was going to produce it easier than it had done before due to changes. And it moves from something called strip farming, which is where peasants were going to farm only a small strip of land, to enclosure farming, which is similar to what you would see today with big fields that are closed off. So if you got that correct, put a little tick. If not, please put the correct definition. Second, this might be something some of you will know, industrial revolution. So pause the video and please put your definition for industrial revolution. Okay, perfect. So let's have a look and compare. So industrial revolution, important definition here. Transition from hand production methods to machines, the increasing use of steam power and the rise of the factory system. So basically, this is where we went from making things with our hands, artisanal. So if you wanted, before the Industrial Revolution, if you wanted a chair and a table, that would be made individually by a carpenter, and he would take his time. Whereas after the Industrial Revolution, things were going to be made by machines in factories. And finally, scientific revolution. So what do you think we could mean by this? So pause and please write. So let's compare. So this was the emergence of modern science with developments in maths, physics, astronomy, biology, and chemistry transformed the views of society about nature. So we're seeing a huge advancement in scientific knowledge in this period, and it was really going to change the way we looked at the world. So again, please, if you didn't get these three definitions down, please take your time now, pause the video, and make sure you have them. Perfect. So we can move on. Guys, what I would like you to do, we're going to go through some information in a moment, and the end task is going to be to complete this table. Okay? So you don't need to do anything right now. Just take a look. And then after we have gone through the questions, I'm going to ask you to copy this table and complete it. Okay? So it's going to be looking at transport, employment, and power. So this is for after. You don't need to copy it right now. So, looking at Britain's changes from 1750 to 1900, we're going to have a look at a picture of a place called Chigley, which is in England, okay? And you're going to look at the picture carefully, and I want you to write down what details you notice about the picture. What housing can you see? What employment, what jobs can people be doing? What transport are they using? What services are available in terms of leisure, religion, water, power, schools, farming, health and hygiene? Okay, so does it look hygienic? And what's the population? Is it a big population? Is it crowded? Is it small? So you're going to take a look at the picture. I will ask you then to pause the video, and then I want you to write an answer for as many of these questions as possible for that picture. Okay, so here it is, 1750, Chigley. Please pause the video and answer the questions, as many as possible. Okay, so how many questions could you answer there? We're going to go through them together. And again, if you've got these down, that's great. If not, you can pause it once I finish, then you can put them down in your book. So let's have a look. First thing we notice, 1750. Whoops, 20% of the population of Britain lived in towns. So most of the people were living in the countryside. What we can say here, strip farming. If we look at this arrow, strip farming. This is what I said, little strips of land where food is simple and homegrown. It's not mass produced. It is for people to eat themselves, maybe sell a little in the town. Travel was slow on foot or horseback, but some roads were good because of turnpikes, which means toll road. People had to pay to use them. But generally, traveling was slow. It was on foot or horse, and we can see them here, and it took a long time, bad roads. We can see the landowner, or what we sometimes call a squire, living in a manor house. So this landowner, they owned the village, they owned the town, and they would be living in a huge mansion or a manor, okay? So these were very rich. They lived in a much better condition than the rest of the population. Oops, let me move this. Still move more. Yeah, there we go. The arrow we see pointing here, you can see to the horses. This is related to an innovator, Jethro Tull. He perfected a horse-drawn seed drill in 1700 that economically sowed the seeds in neat rows, okay? This might not sound revolutionary, but it was. This was going to lead to the agricultural revolution. Due to Jethro Tull and his invention, farmers were going to be able to produce a lot more food, a lot easier. So Jethro Tull and his seed drill, that was going to lead to the agricultural revolution, which will lead to more food being available, less people having to work in farms. And finally, clothes. Clothes and goods were simple and homemade, okay? So we didn't have factories at this time. Clothes and things that you would use in your house, such as tables, chairs, cutlery, plates, it was handmade, and life expectancy was around 40. So people would live until they were about 40 in this period, okay? So 1750. If you didn't get these down, please take a chance to copy them now. So next one, you're now going to see Chigley, 1830, so 80 years later. And again, the same idea. You take a look at the picture, and I want you to see what you notice about the same things: housing, employment, health, population, etc. So pause the video and please tell me what you see. Great, so let's come back and compare. So looking at Chigley in this picture. Firstly, enclosure farming. The farms are no longer strips, they're in these big fields. It means that people can produce more food, okay? And because of the agricultural revolution, it means you need less farmers. but many people still work in farming, okay? Second, if we look at the arrows here, we can see improvements in travel with early railways, so trains are now being used, and improved roads. So the roads are now much better, and they use coaches, which is like, how could I explain? It's a coach is a cart which is pulled on wheels by a horse. So now you can sit in a cart and the horses will pull you like an early version of a car without the mechanics. Next, we still have these village squires, we still have the landowners, and they still live in a very nice place compared to the rest. Oops. Half the population now live in cities, okay? There were crowded living conditions, no fresh water, no sewage, many diseases, okay? So that compares to the 20% we looked at earlier. Now, half the population are living, and their conditions are pretty grim. It's not a nice place to live. Workers. Workers are working 12 hours a day. So that's common. In factories, you're working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. The only day off would be Sunday, where you would be expected to go to church and relax. Children, as young as 3 or 4, worked in the mills. So we're seeing children working in these conditions, very dangerous, and they would normally be given the most difficult jobs because they were small, they could fit into the machinery, and some of the accidents would unfortunately kill the children, maim them, so it was not ideal. Whoops. So there we see 1830. We're going to skip forward now, 1890. Okay, so same idea. Oh, let me go back. If you didn't get these down, pause the video and now please make your notes. And moving forward, finally, 1890. Same idea. I'm going to show you the image. I will pause the video and then I want you to write down what you see. So, same housing, employment, transport, health, hygiene, population. So here we go, 1890. Pause the video, write what you see. Okay, so let's go through this one together. First, 75% of the population now live in towns. So we're seeing a big increase here, 75%. We're now seeing, due to the British Empire, they're getting lots of goods from other countries. Countries like India are providing cotton to be made into clothes, and then Britain are producing the goods, and then they are selling them back to the colonies, okay? So Britain, they're receiving the goods, cotton, tobacco, and they're making products from it to then sell to the rest of the world. A big improvement here, employment. Someone called Sir Richard Arkwright. He was an English inventor during the early Industrial Revolution. And what he's credited with, he credited with inventing the water frame for water-powered cotton mills, okay? Again, we're not in a science class, we're not gonna have to go into the details of this so much, but this led to the creation of modern factories, or what we can see as the start of modern factories, okay? And what this means is, it was a big change. People went from agriculture, working based on the sun coming up, the sun going down. Now they're working a factory system, having to sign in and out of work. Penalties if you're late, penalties if you don't turn up, okay? So this was the start really of the modern working life. Transport, better roads, canals, transported goods. You can see that clearly on the image. We're seeing better railroads, we're seeing early trams, we're seeing canals that can use boats to transport goods. So much more transport connection. Most people were working in this period 5.5 days. Big improvement, you got half of Saturday off. And we saw the introduction of bank holidays. So this meant that there were certain days in the year where you wouldn't have to work and you would get paid, something very new, okay? Coal was being used to power the steam engines, especially of the trains. Remembering our module on China? No, that was a different class, but you should know. Coal, it has a very big impact on the environment. So can you imagine living in a place where there's lots of pollution, lots of smoke? Let me move myself. And we talked there already, scientific revolution. The important guy here was Robert Boyle, okay? What he did, he experimented with gases and with vacuums, and he introduced the idea of chemical elements, essential to the development of chemistry as a science. So, important man here, Robert Boyle. His experiments, they were going to lead to the idea of chemical elements. So what you learn about in your chemistry classes today with Miss Zeb, periodic table, different elements, this was going to be discovered in this period. So if you didn't get these down, please take a moment, pause the video and do it now. Oops, I missed one. Houses, again, the houses were very bad conditions. People, they were overcrowded and made people unhealthy. Lots of disease, lots of dirt. So, guys, what I want you to do now, I want you on a new page to complete the following table. I want you to copy this down. You're going to have for 1750, 1830, and the final one, 1890, 1900. I want you to put in the table, what transport was there in the town? What form of employment were there? So where did most people work? And who do you think held the power in the town? Okay, so who held the power? Was it the landowner, the factory owner, the farmers, the peasants? Who do you think held the power? So please pause the video and complete. So that takes us through our first class of this topic. What I would like you to finish with underneath is a quick reflection of what you have done. So you can choose one, or you can answer all of these questions, whichever you prefer, but at least one. I want you to pick one of these reflective questions and answer it below your table. So I want you to do this if possible in red pen, as it is a reflection, and then we'll have a look when you submit the work. Please remember, take a photo of your book, send it to me, and I will then mark it as complete. Thank you, Year 8. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will speak to you via video tomorrow.